Hey, it's Willie Armelini from Flowers and Scents with your floral industry buzz. Okay, today I'm going to interview Daniela Espana Gutierrez, who's the director of Florverde Sustainable Flowers in Colombia, which is part of Asoco Flores, which is the Association of Flower Growers of Colombia. And they do good things at the farm. It's a certification that they give to farms or the farms have to earn to learn about their people and about their environmental practices. And they, if they do a good job, they get this certification. But if you're in the flower business, you need to know about this because they have been doing a wonderful job, which I've been following for well, almost 30 years now. So let's have her tell you about it.
Yeah.
Okay, Daniela Espana Gutierrez of Florverde Sustainable Flowers, and which is a division of Asoco Flores, the Association of Colombian Flower Growers. And you and I have been bouncing around at various conventions over the last, I don't know, couple of years, I guess.
Yes, that's right.
You often try to stop me and say, "Okay, you need to learn about Flor Verde," and I say, "I know about Flor Verde, I know it." Even though I know it because I've been traveling around and been to Colombia so many times, I've watched this grow for I think 29 years now. So I think it's not for me to know about it, but for my audience to know about it the because Florverde does such a good job. All right, so you help growers, you certify growers with a number of qualifications. They have to do good for the people. They have to do good for environmental issues. They have to do good for many things when you're running a farm with many people on it, and
Mhm.
that's really important because, as we know, the American or the flower business can get bad press, particularly around Valentine's Day and everything else, where we eat our children and we make everybody work a million hours and spray them with pesticides and all that stuff, which is all not true. And we want to alleviate some of those things. And Florverde does a really good job because you go to the farms, do the certifications. It's not just a stamp that you can buy and say, okay, I'm Florverde certified. You have to be a really good farm and have really good practices. Otherwise, you're not Florverde certified. And with that said, obviously you know the program much better than me. So tell us a little bit about it.
Sure, thank you, really. Well, for Verde, it's about to have 30 years old. So next year will be Florverde's birthday. We started in the 96 as a code of conduct of good practices promoted by Azúcar Flores by then in social and environmental good practices to help the growers to create a culture. This is how we started. I don't know, Willie, if I can share with you a presentation, maybe.
You can try. Let's see what happens.
Now you can see my screen. Yeah.
Yes.
So I was telling you that Flor Verde was born in the 96 as a code of conduct. By then was audited, the farms were audited by Azócar Flores, but then um, in 2008, Flor Verde becomes a third-party certification, which is independent from Azócar Flores. So Florverde doesn't do the audits, is are the certification bodies.
Do you have one of these in English? Because it's in Spanish.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was looking for that, but I couldn't found it. But I will send it to you by your email. Could be?
Yes. So why don't we get out of this and just have a discussion, and you just send that to me, and I'll include it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. I will include it to, it's just for me to guide. This is our webpage where we have all the information and we have the the certified companies in here. So many buyers, flower buyers can check it here, like where to buy, where to find certification companies to look for, right?
Okay.
Florverde is an standard. It's an standard. We are in the version 8, and we have general regulatory aspects, and we have around 300 requirements about social and environmental good practices. Florverde is one of its biggest benefits is this is a tool to improve the culture in the organizations. If you are a grower and you want a tool to help you to improve, to do the things right, to have your workers happy, and that stuff, Florverde, it's a way that you can be improve your practices. In the second hand, you have this international recognition. So Florverde is part of this basket of standards from FSI. FSI is the Floriculture Sustainability Initiative that was created in 2012 in Europe, in Brussels, and now FSI has 110 members, not only in Europe, but is expanding to different countries. And Florverde, they said, the buyers in Europe said, we want to, for 2025, that the 90% of the flowers we buy are sustainable. But they say, why is to be sustainable? There are more than 60 certifications in the world of sustainability in flowers. So they choose the best 16 seals in the world. Florverde is there. And Florverde is not only one of the best certifications in the world, but comply with the three criteria. So it's the completed certification because fulfill the GAP, which is the good agricultural practices, criteria, social and environmental. What happened in Europe now, it's mandatory for some buyers like Dutch Flower Group, like Royal Flora Holland, sorry, like FM Group and all of them from 2026, if their suppliers are not certified with Florverde, are not FSI compliant fully, they won't be able to export their flowers to sell their flowers to these buyers because the European Union regulation is even more hard strict. So we need to Florverde is aligned with all of this. Which are their requirements?
Yes, hang on a minute because this is a big deal here. Okay, so the Dutch Flower Group and the FM Group and Royal Flora Holland, which is the auctions, and the Flora Trade Group, that represents a huge part of the buying power in Holland. And if you're saying that in 26, that they're not going to buy from uncertified growers
Yeah.
that are not Florverde certified or GAP
FSI compliant. They need to be FSI compliant, you need the three criteria. So if you have another certification that do not have the three spots, you are not FSI compliant. So with Florverde, you are fully 100% FSI compliant, and that means that this is why Florverde, that started almost 30 years ago in Colombia, now is also in Ecuador. And in Ecuador, we have in less than 1 year and a half, we achieved from 0 hectares to 2,000 hectares certified with Florverde, and we are growing very quickly. I always say that we do not just export beautiful flowers with quality, but we also export good practices because Florverde is a certification that is expanding to all Latin America. We are about to certify farms in Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Peru, Guatemala. We have 30 countries that now we can operate and audit farms in different countries because we have certification bodies, allied strategic partners that have operations in all of the world and in 30 countries that can certify Florverde farms.
All right, let's back up a moment again. So FSI, the Floriculture Sustainability Initiative, is sort of the global group that has been assembled of the best certifications of which Florverde is part of. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
all right.
FSI evaluate standards, and this means that we are part of the basket, but one of the completest standards in the world.
And Ecuador now, because Ecuador doesn't have its own certification, they've decided to use Florverde's certification. Is that correct?
They have their own certification, which is Flor Ecuador, but Flor Ecuador is not part of the basket of standard. Maybe in the future, but right now, if the Ecuadorian grower wants to sell the flowers to the FSI accelerators, which are some of these, they need to
They
be
have to
Flor.
have the Florverde one. I
Mhm.
do see the Kenya is also part of it. Kenya Flower Council is
Yeah,
also part
yeah.
of it. So,
That's right. That's right. We have, there are only right now three certifications schemes or three standards that are compliant 100% with FSI, that are FSI compliant, that it's Flor Verde, Kenya Flower Council, and MPS with the
MPS.
three certifications. Yes.
Okay. All right, go on.
That's right. So what is Flor Verde? What are the requirements? So we have labor rights, we have training, and well-being of the workers, freedom of association, this is crucial, health safety in the and health occupational safety in the work for the workers. This means that the requirements that Florverde ask are aligned not only with the Colombian law or the Ecuadorian law, but the destination law. This means that Florverde is a standard that it's aligned with the regulation of the European Union, with the United States. We also audit through third party the efficient managing of water, soil, and energy, carbon footprint. They need to measure everything. Soil conservation, fertilizers, biodiversity, post-harvest traceability and transparency, and the brand use. And this is when I tell you in Europe, the European Union created the Green Deal, the new regulations about sustainability, which are a reference for the rest of the countries. So flowers need to comply with the CSRDs and CSDDD. What does mean? That the flower farms need to register and report their data. So as you said in the beginning, it's more than a seal that you obtain. This means that you need to report your data, and the data is audited frequently by third parties. We conduct through third parties and announce certifications. So if you are working, surprisingly, the auditor comes to your farm and watch if you do not have child labor, if you pay well, if the conditions are well, if you do not use forbidden pesticides, and this is audited in an announced way. So there is no way that you are with greenwashing, because they are auditing you periodically, and you need to show your data and demonstrate that you are sustainable.
Right, so they show up unannounced and do an audit, and if so, has there anybody been kicked off of Florida?
Kicked off, you mean removed?
Yes.
Uh, Of course, during the period, many hadn't passed the certification. This is this is something that is part of the process. But what we say, especially for the small that are trying to be sustainable, is that this is a process of continuous improvement. So you need to improve frequently. You have a path. This is a path with no ending. Every time you can be better. So this is the latest regulation from the European Union, which means that you need to measure your environmental footprint per each stem of flower in the whole supply chain during the 8 stages in the supply chain from the soil until the waste, the whole supply chain. So you measure the carbon footprint emissions in air freight, you measure soil, you measure compost, everything goes there in the same. At the end, you obtain one number. And that number is measured through this methodology, FloriPEF-CR. Florverde was part of the construction of the methodology, and this methodology was created by Wageningen scientific researchers, and this methodology was approved by the European Union Commission. This means that Florverde is aligned with the regulation in the countries. And we have a bigger recognition, a very important recognition, which is the SSCI. Like FSI, we have SSCI. SSCI is Sustainable Supply Chain Initiative. This means that from the Consumer Goods Forum. Do you know what it's a Consumer Goods Forum?
No, you're going to tell me though.
Yeah, great. Consumer Goods Forum is a consortium, like an association for 400 retailers in 70 countries. As you can see in your
A
in
lot of
your
names, a lot of big names that I recognize some anyway. The US versions I recognize, so that's quite an impressive name or list.
partner, the CEO of Tesco in the UK and the CEO of Walmart are part of the board of Consumer Goods Forum. So, as FSI has their basket, Consumer Goods Forum has their basket. FSI could be, we could say that is more for wholesalers and this is more for retailers. So this means that Florverde is audited from Paris twice per year, around twice per year, and we need to align our standard with the sustainable requirements of these retailers. There are only 3 certifications in the world for primary production and 2 for flowers that has this recognition, which is Florverde and CISA. And this is huge because what we are trying to do with this recognition beyond that trophy that we can say we have this is to benefit the growers and to stop having many seals. We just want one certification is enough because for a grower is very exhausting to have more than one certification is the cost is high
Yes,
and
and many growers have had to get those over the years. I've noticed a lot of boxes that have several certifications on the side stamped on them, and you're right. A lot of them are shied away because it was just too expensive to get all the certifications. So now you're trying to boil it down so that Fleur has that ability.
exactly. We want to make it simple. Just one certification, it's enough because otherwise, every retailer has their own list of pesticides forbidden, their requirements. So this
Right.
is what we're trying to do. And we have in United States is great recognition from IPM, the Integrated Pest Management Institute in the United States that audit Florverde. This means that our standard is aligned with with the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA in United States. In Colombia, there are around 30 active ingredients of pesticides forbidden, but Florverde forbids around 115 molecules that are aligned with the European Union and with the United States EPA. And Florverde is one of the few certifications allowed by Walmart for their suppliers in the environmental aspects. I don't know if you have some questions there.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. All right, let's go back. Let's unshare your screen for a minute so we can chat. And I'm going to change the view back to side by side. I think.
Do you want me to stop sharing? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, stop sharing because we're running out of time is what's happening too. There we go. All right. Yes, well, I try to keep these to about 20 minutes because otherwise people don't watch. So let's summarize this. So Florverde is part of a bigger group of certifications, and it's aligned with the European Union, that's aligned with the United States. Obviously, the United States is not as fussy as Europe, unfortunately.
Mhm.
But I think it's coming around. But I think what's most important for the people that, because some retailers and wholesalers are going to be listening to this conversation, I hope, and to feel comfortable if they see the Fleur Verde seal on a box or a sleeve or some packaging, they can be assured that the employees of those farms, the environmental responsibility at those farms is being monitored, watched, checked, and approved. It's not, again, just a stamp on a box. It's something that says it's being done well. Forget the quality of the flowers. Everybody's got to have good quality flowers. It doesn't guarantee that the farmer is going to have good quality flowers, but probably if they subscribe to all of your requirements, they're probably growing good flowers as well. If, and So I think it's important to note that the stamp and the seal is it's not just a seal. It is a sort of a guarantee that that farm is doing, good practices. And I think that's what's most important because most people probably don't care about these seals, unfortunately. Um, but a lot of people do, and consumers are starting to be more aware of it. So, this can be passed along to the retailer and to the consumer at their level saying, hey, if it's got the Fleur Verde stamp or certification, it's being done correctly, as it can be in the grand scheme of things. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, it is. I have summarized like the requirements of the seal, like as you said, the main concerns about our industry, I think, are three. The first one are pesticides residue in the flowers that we have this bad press, especially in France in Europe, and is moving into other countries. So we need to respond proactively with what the good practices that we take care of the workers and also in pollinators. We have many requirements. The second one is regarding carbon footprint emissions, especially for the flowers that are exported. So we are working with some airlines cargo to reduce emissions. We have some flower growers that are reducing their carbon footprint emission in the air freight using biofuels through book and claim, through sustainable aviation fuel and different alternatives, optimizing the trips and different. If we compare a flower produced in Colombia and a flower produced in California, for example, you can see that in California you need to have electricity for the warehouses. In Colombia, no. So this is what it's very important to measure the carbon footprint that we are already doing this. And the third aspect is regarding the workers' well-being. If we have welfare, if we have is fair salaries, if we have great conditions on healthcare, on the pesticides use and that stuff. So I think we should speak about mainly these three topics. I don't know if you know, for example, that the Colombian flowers generates around 200,000 employees in Colombia, where the 60% are women,
Yep.
where the 50% are heads of households. So we need to communicate the great impact of the flowers because otherwise there is a lot of like bad press about all of this.
Yeah, it's about child labor and about all those bad things. But there's been enough good things you have said enough good things about it, and I've been to many of these farms where they treat the people very nicely, and I think it's a testimony to the organization, and bravo for Florverde. So, with that said, let me say goodbye to you and appreciate your time here, and we'll see you at another convention.